and you alluded to situations where you have not been, 100% accurate in your projections, and that's quite normal, and the great thing is when you do it quicker than you expected. But despite the most meticulous projections, sometimes the cost exceeds what you expected. So tell us a little bit about how you track it, and then what do you do when you've got a variance?
Okay. Well, I'll take the last project I was working on. I was the instructional designer, and I was working with a great project manager who kind of really kept track on a weekly basis of how all the work was being done. And there were several points at which she said, are you just about finished that? Because we've only got X number of hours left in the budget for that to happen. And so she helped to kind of give feedback on making sure, now this can be one person doing all of this, but I'm just telling you how this worked out. So it keeps you on track, and it needs to be something you track your hours, and you track, even if you have a flat price, you are still tracking your hours. So you say, oh gee, I'm getting close to being running out of money here for this piece. Now in this particular situation, the initial project we put in and the proposal that the client was looking for was to do X number of modules. And as we were moving along, it became very evident that to do the number of modules that they wanted, they would not be well done, or else we could do less and do them really well. And so whenever you get out of kilter like that, it's something that requires you need to communicate with your client to say, this is where we're at. They want to know what's happening. It's not a perfect world out there, and they might have another phase that they're going to be coming in with that they know about that you don't know about. And you might say, well, at this point, we see that you've asked us to do 5 modules, but based on what you really want in each module, that's not going to work out under this contract to give you the quality that you want, or else if we try to give you the content, the one that you want, it will get done. It will not be as well done as it could be. So you involve them in the communication and keep them up to date on how things are going. And in this instance, for example, the person said, well, we do have a phase 2 that we're going to be looking at in our next budget year, something that we would never know. And he said, well, these are the most important ones. So he said, I see these as highest priority. So would you please focus on these 3, and we'll park those other ones. But since you've blocked them out for me, I can then take that now, and I can get another person to do that, or we can get you back at another time next year to do that. So it's not a problem when you want to try to be as accurate as you can, but we have to face the real facts, and sometimes things sort of get out of kilter, and you involve the client in making the choices to go forward. Not in what you're doing, but rather in the fact that you want them to contribute to really understanding their priorities, and make sure that you're not making a decision that's related to impacting the outcome of what they've asked you to do without involving them in making some of the tough decisions like that. Does that make sense?
It very much makes sense. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
Anything, and in terms of tracking, do you just use something like Excel to track your progress and budget?
Well, in this case, we were working with a team that was sort of spread around the world, so we were actually using a Google spreadsheet. But it's a spreadsheet, yes, and that worked out really well.
Great. Okay. I mean, that answers the questions I have. I was going to ask you if you had any tips for those of us who are learning about budgeting and dealing with the financing of online learning solutions that we might work on in the future.
Well, it's not a perfect world, so sometimes you get it really right, and sometimes you get it close to right, and it's something you just get better at with practice. So from a financial point of view, it's important to, I believe it's important to deliver a good quality e-learning program or module or unit or whatever it is you've been tasked to do. And if doing that, the other thing is that sometimes when you have situations where you want to do a certain amount of work, sometimes if you you might not be the right person to do all of the work. So it's a good idea to cultivate colleagues or other contractors or other people that you know that you might work with from time to time to do bits and pieces, so that you're not the only person on tap. And if you have an opportunity to do something else, or you would really rather go do some of that high value work on another project, you can get someone else that might just do some of the, some of the more mechanical kinds of things that are involved in, creating some of the online learning that we do. That maybe that's not really your best place to be, and you're better off to find someone or to work with someone that will do that part for you, and then you can go on and do some of the neat visionary kind of design level stuff if that's really where you prefer to be, and someone else will actually build the mechanics of the course. So I think it's important to find what you like best and what you're good at. And then bring in other people, or rent people or hire people to do some of the pieces that you're not so good at or that you don't care to do. That's my suggestion.
Great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add for our financial management of online learning students?
Oh, financial management. Well, it's an important part of your business. You're nowhere if you're not. You can be the most creative person in the world, but if you're not looking after the dollars and cents in some fashion, it's kind of like if you are working on your own, you are the CEO of your own company, but you're also the creative director. So the balancing of the importance, it doesn't mean you have to do all your bookkeeping, but it means you need to know where things are at, and you need to know how to track, and you have to have the discipline, which I find sometimes sort of fidget against, of having to track your hours. And I sometimes find that so hard to do. It's kind of like, chill, like just do it, because it's part of the job, and it's not necessarily your favorite part. But if you do that part, then you get to do the other stuff that you really, really like. So I think you just have to, well, be blunt, suck it up and do it, because it's just going to be what's going to get you to more interesting instructional design projects, if that's where your heart is and that's where you want to work.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I know you're a very busy person, so we really appreciate hearing your perspectives on these things, Wendy.
You're very welcome. And best wishes to all of you on your exciting new adventures in e-learning.